In a galaxy where strength decides your future, one cadet was so weak he couldn't even activate a training weapon. The instructors laughed. His classmates mocked him. Command wanted to expel him before he embarrassed the academy. But what they didn't know would change everything. Because while everyone focused on his weakness, something ancient was watching. Something so powerful that entire civilizations had erased their own history just to forget it existed. And it chose him, not the top-ranked warriors, not the genetic elites, not the cadets with perfect scores, the weakest one. Here's what makes this story absolutely insane. First, this protector had been dormant for over 10,000 years. It had rejected every warrior, every conqueror, every hero who tried to claim its power. Until now. Second, the cadet's weakness wasn't a flaw. It was the exact trait this entity had been searching for across millennia. What everyone saw as his greatest failure was actually the key to unlocking the galaxy's most devastating force. And third, by the time the Academy realized what they had, it was already too late. The bond was formed. The power was awakening. And the weakest cadet in history was about to become something the galaxy had never seen before. The military tried to study it. Elite warriors tried to steal it. Ancient orders tried to destroy it. None of them understood the truth. Let me show you exactly how this happened, and why it's going to rewrite everything we thought we knew about power, destiny, and what it really takes to survive in the galaxy's deadliest war. Meet Cale Vorn, age 19. Dead last in every combat ranking at the Celestial Guard Academy. His energy output, 42% below minimum threshold. His reaction time, classified as civilian standard. His genetic compatibility with standard military augmentation, 0.3%. In a galaxy where children start combat training at age 5, where genetic modifications create super soldiers before birth, Cale was a statistical impossibility. He shouldn't have even been accepted to the Academy, but he had one thing going for him, his family name. The Vorns had produced legendary warriors for 6 generations, admirals, fleet commanders. Heroes who turned the tide in the sector wars. When Cale applied, the Academy couldn't reject a Vorn. It would be a scandal, so they let him in expecting him to quit within weeks. He didn't quit. For 2 years, Cale endured. He failed every physical test. He couldn't complete basic energy manipulation exercises that 10-year-olds mastered easily. During combat simulations, instructors had to pause the system to prevent serious injury. But here's the first surprise. Despite all this, Cale's tactical scores were perfect. Every written exam, every strategy simulation, every theoretical combat scenario, perfect scores. His mind understood warfare at a level that confused even the senior professors. His body just couldn't execute any of it. The Academy had a rule. 3 consecutive failed combat certifications meant automatic expulsion. Cale had 2 failures. His 3rd test was scheduled for the day everything changed. Now here's what you need to understand about the galaxy in 2847. Humanity had spread across 47 colonized systems. But they weren't alone. The Crix Collective controlled the northern quadrants. The Veiled Synod claimed the ancient core worlds. And in the darkness between sectors, things moved that had no names. The Celestial Guard Academy sat on Bastion Prime, humanity's fortress world. It trained the elite, the best of the best. Cadets who would command fleets, lead planetary defenses, and stand against threats that could end civilizations. Cale trained alongside cadets who could punch through steel doors, who could calculate hyperspace jumps in their heads, who had been designed from birth to be perfect warriors. And then there was the archive. Every academy had one. Ancient databases containing historical records, tactical analyses, and classified files from wars that predated human space travel. Most cadets never even visited the archive. Why study the past when you could train for the future? Cale spent every free hour there. The night before his final combat test, Cale was in the archive basement, Section Omega, the restricted zone where they kept files so old that even the encryption had decayed. He was searching for anything, any technique, any forgotten fighting style that might help someone with his limitations. That's when he found the file that wasn't supposed to exist. Now here's where things get really interesting. That date alone made no sense. Human civilization barely dated back to 3000 BCE. Recorded history started around 3500 BCE. Yet here was a military file claiming events from over 10,000 years ago. Cale opened it. The first line stopped his heart. Project Sentinel. The creation and containment of humanity's first and final weapon. What followed was impossible. According to the file, humanity didn't originate on Earth. We were survivors. Refugees from a war so catastrophic that it had consumed 12 galaxies. The victors in that war had given humanity a choice. Accept exile to a primitive world and forget everything, or face extinction. We chose exile. We chose Earth, but before we left, our ancestors created something. A last resort. A weapon so powerful that deploying it would mean mutual destruction for both sides. The file called it a sentinel. Here's the crazy part. The sentinel wasn't a ship or a bomb. It was alive. A being created by fusing human consciousness with something the file only called void essence. It had intelligence, it had memory, and it had power that could crack planets like eggs. The ancient humans had created dozens of sentinels, each one bonded to a specific warrior. Together, they had fought the war to a stalemate. The enemy couldn't destroy humanity without losing everything themselves. So they made the deal. Exile, memory wipe, start over as primitives, but here's what makes this insane. The file said the sentinels went with us, not as weapons, as guardians. They entered a dormant state, hidden across Earth, waiting. The file said they would only awaken if humanity ever faced extinction again, and one of them was on Bastion Prime. Kale's hands shook as he read. The file included coordinates, depth markers, access codes to sections of the Academy that officially didn't exist. The file ended with a warning written in dozen languages, including some Kale didn't recognize. The Sentinels choose their own bonds. Force will fail. Deception will fail. Only truth of purpose will wake them, and once bonded, separation means death for both. Kale should have reported this, should have brought it to Academy Command. He didn't, because something in that file spoke to him. The idea that the most powerful protectors ever created didn't choose the strongest warriors. They chose based on truth of purpose. What did that even mean? Kale had 18 hours until his final combat test. 18 hours until expulsion. Until his family's legacy ended with him. Until he became the first Vorn in 6 generations to fail. He followed the coordinates. The Academy had sub-basements that went down 40 levels. Official levels stopped at 12. The file's coordinates pointed to level 37. Kale used maintenance shafts, emergency tunnels. He bypassed security systems using codes from the file that shouldn't have still worked after 10,000 years. They worked perfectly. Level 37 was different. The walls weren't metal. They were something else, something that absorbed light. The air tasted old, not stale, ancient. The coordinates led to a chamber the size of a small arena. Empty except for one thing in the center. A sphere, 3 meters tall, black but not like any black Kale had ever seen. This black had depth, like looking into space except the stars were inside the darkness instead of beyond it. Kale approached. The file had said the sentinels were dormant, waiting. He'd expected something more dramatic, some kind of test. A challenge. What happened was simpler and more terrifying. The sphere spoke directly into his mind. Why are you here? Not words, pure meaning. The question bypassed his ears, his brain, everything, and just existed in his consciousness. Kale answered honestly, the only way he knew how. Because I'm going to fail. Because I'm not strong enough, because I need help. Silence, then, strength is the wrong measure. What's the right measure? The sphere pulsed. Faint light rippled through the darkness inside it. Show me your truth. Kale didn't understand. He didn't have special knowledge. He didn't have a destiny. He was just a failed cadet trying to avoid expulsion. But something made him step forward, made him place his hand on the sphere's surface. It was warm. He'd expected cold. And then the sentinel showed him what truth meant. Kale saw his own memories, but not how he remembered them. He saw every moment from a different perspective, every failure, every time instructors had mocked him, every time classmates had laughed. But the sentinel showed him something else in those moments. In every failure, Kale had gotten back up. In every humiliation, he'd returned the next day. For 2 years, despite having 0 chance of success, despite everyone telling him to quit, despite the pain and embarrassment, he had never stopped trying. Not because he was strong, because he refused to give up. The sentinel's voice filled his mind. 10,000 years, millions of warriors have found this place. Conquerors, heroes, genetic perfection, all seeking power, none understanding what power requires. What does it require? The will to stand when standing means nothing, to fight when victory is impossible, to endure when endurance serves no purpose except itself. You are weak, Kale Vorn, and that weakness has forged something unbreakable. The sphere cracked. Light poured out, not normal light. This light had weight. Gravity, reality itself bent around it, and from that light something emerged. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. The sentinel didn't look like anything Kale expected. It wasn't a warrior, it wasn't a monster, it wasn't even humanoid. It was a shadow. A living absence of light that somehow had more presence than anything solid. It moved like smoke but felt like iron. When it spoke, reality rippled. I am Vigil, created in humanity's darkest hour, dormant for 10,247 of your years, bonded now to you. Kale stumbled back. I didn't ask for a bond, I just needed answers. The bond is already complete. It began the moment you touched the sphere with honest purpose. There is no reversing it. Your life is now mine, my power is now yours. We are one until death separates what cannot be separated. Kale felt it then, a second heartbeat in his chest, not his own, stronger, slower, ancient. What does that mean? Vigil flowed closer. The shadow wrapped around Kale like armor. He should have been terrified. Instead, he felt complete for the first time in his life. It means your weakness is irrelevant. I do not augment your body. I replace the need for it. Your mind understands warfare. I execute what you envision. Together, we are what I was created to be. A sentinel, humanity's protector. Kale's academy communicator buzzed, 12 hours until his final combat test. Can you help me pass? Vigil's laugh was like thunder underground. I can help you transcend the concept of passing, but first you must understand what you've become. What happened next changed everything Kale thought he knew about power. Vigil showed him the truth, the real truth, about the war, about humanity, about why the Sentinels existed. The exile to Earth wasn't mercy, it was a prison sentence. The beings who defeated humanity, the architects, had seen something in humans that terrified them. Not strength, not intelligence, adaptability. Humans could survive anywhere, learn anything, become anything. Given enough time, humans would evolve past any limitation. The architects had run probability models. In every long-term scenario, humanity eventually surpassed them. So they'd made the deal. Exile humanity to a primitive world. Let them forget. Let them start over from zero. Monitor them. And if they ever approached their previous technological level, the architects would return to reset everything again. The Sentinels were insurance against that reset. We were created to wake when humanity reached critical development, Vigil explained. When they approached the threshold where the architects would notice. Each Sentinel bonds to one human. Together we remember what was lost. Together we ensure humanity never kneels again. How many Sentinels are there? 47 were created. 47 human colonies exist. This is not coincidence. Kale's mind raced. One Sentinel per colony? Correct, spread across your expanding civilization. Hidden, dormant, waiting for worthy bonds. I am the 7th to wake. What happened to the first 6? Vigil's shadow darkened. 3 bonded successfully. They protect their chosen in secret. The military does not know. Their partners hide the truth. 2 were destroyed by those who sought power without understanding. 1 remains dormant. Its chosen was unworthy. Why me? Why now? Here's where it gets really interesting. Vigil showed Kale something in his genetic code, something the Academy's tests had missed because they weren't looking for it. Kale carried genetic memory. Deep in his DNA, compressed and hidden, were fragments of information from humanity's original civilization. Battle tactics, engineering principles, cultural knowledge. The memory wipe had been thorough, but it couldn't be perfect. Tiny amounts of information had survived, passed down through random chance across 10,000 years. Kale's tactical genius wasn't natural talent. It was ancestral memory bleeding through. His mind recognized patterns of warfare that humans on Earth had never invented. His perfect strategy scores came from instincts that predated recorded history. But here's the twist. That genetic memory had a cost. It interfered with normal human augmentation. That's why Kale couldn't accept standard military modifications. His body was trying to express abilities from a completely different technological paradigm. He wasn't weak. He was incompatible with modern human military technology because his genetics remembered something older, something better. The architects fear humanity's adaptability, Vigil continued. But they misunderstand it. Adaptability isn't just survival. It's memory. It's the ability to learn from the past and become stronger. You carry that memory, Kale, fragmented, incomplete, but enough. Enough for what? Enough to understand what I show you. Enough to wield what I offer. Enough to become the bond I require. Vigil extended part of its shadow. It formed into a blade. No, not a blade. The concept of a blade. The perfect cutting edge. The ideal weapon. Take it. Kale reached out. The moment his hand closed around the shadow blade, knowledge flooded his mind. How to move, how to strike, how to defend. Centuries of combat experience downloaded in seconds, not just human combat. Warfare from civilizations that had mastered violence before Earth had even formed. His body moved. Not his weak, untrained body. The shadow moved him. Vigil anticipated his thoughts and executed them perfectly. Kale thought attack, and the blade carved through a training dummy he hadn't even noticed in the chamber. The dummy was reinforced titanium. The blade cut through it like mist. "This is what we are together," Vigil said. "Your mind provides strategy, tactics, purpose. I provide execution, power, manifestation. The architects created us to be unstoppable, and we are." Kale stared at his hand. The blade had vanished, but he could feel Vigil there. "Waiting, ready. What happens at my combat test? You will pass. But that is the least of what will happen. The moment you demonstrate our bond, the Academy will know. They will investigate. They will find this chamber. They will discover what you are." "What am I?" Vigil's shadow wrapped tighter, protective, possessive. "You are the 7th Sentinel, the weakest cadet in Academy history, and the most dangerous human alive. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all." The combat test started at dawn. Kale stood in the arena. 500 cadets watched from the stands. Instructors monitored from their observation booth. This was standard. Every final combat test was public. It motivated cadets to perform well, or it turned failures into examples. Kale's opponent was a training combat drone. Advanced AI, adaptive learning. Set to intermediate difficulty because anything higher would just be cruel for someone with Kale's record. Chief Instructor Varen spoke over the arena's speakers. "Cadet Vorn, this is your 3rd and final combat certification attempt. You know the requirements. Demonstrate basic combat proficiency for 60 seconds. Survive. That's all we ask. 60 seconds, just survive." The crowd murmured, some laughed. 60 seconds was the minimum possible requirement. For most cadets, the test was 5 minutes against advanced drones. They'd already written Kale off. The drone activated. It hovered at the arena's opposite end. Standard humanoid combat frame, energy weapons, tactical shield, nothing fancy. Chief Varen's voice, "Begin." The drone attacked immediately, standard opening, weapon raised. Shield forward, textbook approach. Kale didn't move, he stood perfectly still. Empty-handed, no weapon, no armor, nothing. The crowd fell silent. This wasn't strategy, this was suicide. The drone fired. An energy bolt designed to stun, not kill. Academy safety protocols. Kale caught the bolt in his hand, not deflected, not dodged, caught, like catching a ball. The bolt dissolved into shadow. The arena exploded with confused shouts. That was impossible. Energy bolts weren't physical objects. You couldn't catch them, the physics didn't work. But Kale wasn't alone anymore. Vigil emerged, not fully, not its complete form. Just enough shadows bled from Kale's skin. His eyes turned black, not evil black, void black, the color of space before stars existed. The drone recalculated, threat assessment elevated, it switched to full combat mode. It died in 3 seconds. Kale moved, or Vigil moved him. The distinction didn't matter. Shadow blades formed in both hands. He crossed the arena in a blur. The drone tried to block. Kale's blades cut through its shield like it wasn't there. Through its armor, through its core processor. The drone crashed to the ground in pieces. Kale stood over it, breathing steady, not even winded. Total elapsed time, 7 seconds. The arena was dead silent. Chief Instructor Varen's voice crackled over the speakers. Shaky, uncertain. "Cadet Vorn, you pass. Report to my office immediately." But here's what they didn't know, what nobody except Kale understood. Vigil had held back, massively. That demonstration, that was 0.001% of their true capability. Full power would have vaporized the arena. The Academy, possibly the city. Kale walked out of the arena. Cadets pressed against the walls to let him pass. Fear in their eyes, he was still the weak cadet, still the failure. But now he was something else too, something terrifying. In Chief Varen's office, things got worse, or better, depending on perspective. Varen sat behind his desk. 3 other instructors stood behind him, and in the corner someone Kale didn't recognize, a woman in black armor, no academy insignia, no rank markers. "Cadet Vorn," Varen began. "That display raises questions. Significant questions. Your file says you have no combat augmentation, no genetic modifications, no advanced training, yet you just destroyed a combat drone in 7 seconds using weapons that shouldn't exist." Kale said nothing. The woman in black armor stepped forward. "My name is Operative Thane. I represent the Ministry of Inherited Threats. We monitor dangers to humanity that most people don't even know exist. And you, Cadet, just triggered every single one of our alarms. She pulled out a scanner, pointed it at Kale. The device screamed, literally. It emitted a high-pitched wail before shutting down completely. Thane smiled, not friendly. Predatory? That scanner detects pre-Exodus technology from before humanity was exiled to Earth. It's supposed to be dormant, dead, but it's reading you as an active source, which means one of two things. Either you're carrying illegal pre-Exodus artifacts, which is punishable by memory wipe and permanent detention. She paused. Or you've bonded with a sentinel. The room froze. I don't know what that means, Kale lied. Thane laughed. Yes, you do. We know about the sentinels, Cadet Vorn, not everything, but enough. 47 were created. 47 human colonies exist. 7 have awakened. The first 6 were either destroyed by incompetent handlers or hidden by partners smart enough to stay quiet. She leaned close. You're number 7, and you just publicly demonstrated your bond in front of 500 witnesses, which makes you the first Sentinel-bonded human to be publicly identified since the Exodus. What do you want? To help you. Whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. The fact is, you're now the single most valuable military asset in human space, and also the single biggest target. Every hostile faction in the galaxy will want you. Some to study, some to weaponize. Some to kill before you become a threat. Vigil's voice whispered in Kale's mind. She speaks truth, but not complete truth. The Ministry wants to control us, use us. They fear what they cannot command. Out loud, Kale asked, what happens now? Thane smiled again. Now you make a choice. Option 1, you work with the Ministry. We protect you, train you, help you understand your bond. In exchange, you serve humanity's defense. Fighting threats, protecting colonies, being the weapon you were created to be. And option 2, there is no option 2. The Sentinels were created to protect humanity. That's not a suggestion, it's programming, deep, unbreakable. Vigil can't harm humans, can't refuse to defend them. You're stuck with this bond. The only question is whether you do it with support or alone. She wasn't wrong, Kale could feel it. Vigil's purpose burned in his chest, protect humanity. Always, no exceptions, but here's the revelation that changed everything. Vigil showed Kale the truth. The real truth about the Ministry, about what they'd done to the other Sentinels. 2 had been destroyed, yes, but not by accident. The Ministry had tried to forcibly extract them from their bonds, tried to weaponize them independently. Both Sentinels had self-destructed rather than become tools. Their bonded partners died too, the 3 hidden Sentinels. They weren't hiding from enemies, they were hiding from the Ministry. The Ministry believes they protect humanity, Vigil explained. And they do. But they also fear what they cannot control. We are uncontrollable, therefore we are threats. They will help us only until they understand us. Then they will try to contain us, or destroy us. Kale looked at Operative Thane, at the instructors, at the life he'd thought he wanted, and he understood something crucial. The weakest cadet had gained the galaxy's most powerful protector. But power came with a price. Freedom, privacy, the chance to be normal, all of that was gone. So what does all this mean for us today? Here's what you need to understand about Kale's situation. He can't hide, can't run, can't pretend this didn't happen. 500 witnesses saw him destroy that drone, recorded it, shared it. Within hours, the footage spread across the colonial networks. Within days, every human colony had seen it. Within weeks, alien intelligence services were analyzing it. The weak cadet who couldn't pass basic training had become galactic news. But Vigil explained something crucial to Kale. Something that changes how we think about power entirely. Sentinels were never meant to be secret, Vigil said. We were created to be deterrents. Our existence prevents wars. Our power makes attacking humanity too costly. The ancestors made us visible, made us frightening. Made potential enemies calculate the cost of facing us and choose peace instead. The hiding only started after the Exodus, when the Ministry discovered the first Sentinel and panicked. When they decided that weapons this powerful couldn't be trusted in individual hands. But here's the thing. Sentinels don't work for governments. They bond to individuals. The bond is personal, unbreakable. A Sentinel's loyalty is to their partner first, humanity second, governments never. That's why the Ministry is terrified. Kale now had a choice. Accept Ministry oversight and lose autonomy. Or refuse and become a fugitive with the galaxy's most powerful militaries hunting him, except Vigil revealed a third option. There are 3 other active bonds, Vigil explained. Hidden, scattered. Each Sentinel-bonded human protecting their corner of human space in secret. They coordinate, share intelligence, form a shadow network dedicated to humanity's true defense, not political agendas. You want me to join them? I want you to survive. Publicly revealing our bond was unfortunate but irreversible. The other bonds can help you navigate this, teach you what the ministry never would. Cale made his decision in that office, with Operative Thane waiting for an answer. I'll work with the ministry, he said. But on my terms. I'm not your weapon, I'm not your asset. I'm a cadet who bonded with something I didn't fully understand. If the ministry wants cooperation, it comes with respect, with autonomy, with the understanding that Vigil and I are partners, not tools. Thane considered this. The ministry won't like those terms. Then the ministry has a problem. What happened next is crucial for understanding how power dynamics work in this new reality. Thane made a call. 10 minutes later, a hologram appeared in the office. A man Cale didn't recognize. Military uniform. Too many medals to count. Director-level insignia. Cadet Vorn, the man said. I'm Director Ashwin, Ministry of Inherited Threats. I've reviewed your test footage. Impressive, terrifying, and exactly what we feared for decades. What have you feared? That Sentinel bonds would go public, that we'd have to navigate military assets with minds of their own, that the balance of power in human space would shift from institutions to individuals. Ashwin sighed. But perhaps we were wrong to fear it. The 3 hidden bonds have protected more lives than our entire military division. They've stopped threats we never even knew existed. Maybe the problem isn't Sentinel bonds. Maybe it's our attempt to control them. What are you suggesting? A new arrangement. You train at the academy, you complete your education, but you're not bound by standard military command structure. You operate, and he started learning about the other bonds. There were 3 scattered across human space. Bond 2 was a colonist on the Outer Rim, a farmer who'd awakened their sentinel during an alien raid. They'd saved their entire colony, then vanished before the military arrived. Bond 4 was a scientist, civilian, academic. Their sentinel had bonded during a research expedition into pre-Exodus ruins. Together, they discovered technology that revolutionized human energy production, then deleted all records of themselves and disappeared into the black markets, selling revolutionary tech anonymously. Bond 6 was military. A special forces operator who'd found their sentinel during a classified mission. Unlike the others, 6 worked within the system, but independently, taking missions no one else could complete, answering to no one. Vigil connected Cale to their network. Encrypted communication, impossible to trace. The hidden bonds shared knowledge, warned each other about ministry activities, coordinated responses to threats too big for one sentinel. And they all agreed on one thing: more sentinels would wake. The galaxy was changing. Humanity was expanding too fast, making too much noise. The architects would notice soon. When they did, humanity would need every sentinel awake and bonded. But here's the terrifying part. Here's what kept Cale awake at night. Vigil showed him probability models, ancient calculations from before the Exodus. The architects had a detection threshold, a level of technological and cultural development that would trigger their attention. Humanity was approaching that threshold. Fast. Within 50 years, maybe less, the architects would return. And when they did, they wouldn't offer exile again. They'd offer extinction. 47 sentinels were created, Vigil explained. Humanity has 47 colonies. The mathematics are intentional. Each colony needs protection. Each sentinel needs a bond. When all 47 wake, humanity will be ready for the architect's return. How many have woken? 7, including us. That's not enough. No, it is not. Cale understood then. His public bond wasn't a mistake. It was a catalyst. The galaxy now knew sentinels existed. Knew they bonded to humans. Knew they offered power beyond anything modern technology could match. People would search. Would explore pre-Exodus sites. Would find the dormant sentinels. More bonds would form. Humanity's protection would grow, but so would the threats. Because the galaxy wasn't just humans and architects. There were other factions, other powers. And they'd all just learned that humanity possessed pre-Exodus weapons. Some would want alliances. Some would want those weapons for themselves. Some would want humanity destroyed before the Sentinels could all wake. The weak Cadet had gained the galaxy's most powerful protector. But in doing so, he'd started a countdown. 3 months after his public bond, Cale received a message. Not through ministry channels, not through the hidden network. This came directly to his mind. Vigil received it and shared it instantly. It was from another Sentinel, not one of the 3 active bonds. This was from a Sentinel that was still dormant. The message is unusual, Vigil admitted. Sentinels in stasis should not be able to communicate. We sleep dreamlessly until the bond forms. Yet this one is aware, active, but unbonded. What does it say? Vigil projected the message into Kale's consciousness. Not words. Images, coordinates, a warning. The images showed a planet, outer rim colony, small, mining operation, recently established. Human population, 40,000. The warning was simple, danger, coming, soon, wake me. Where is this? Colony designation Theta 9, edge of mapped space. The Sentinel dormant there has detected something, a threat approaching, large enough that it's breaking stasis protocols to call for help. Why not just bond with someone there? Because Sentinels cannot force bonds. We can only accept those who find us with true purpose. This Sentinel is attempting to wake, attempting to call a worthy bond to it before the threat arrives. What kind of threat breaks a Sentinel's stasis? Vigil's shadow darkened, actual fear in its presence. Only one thing, architects. The room temperature dropped. They're coming now. You said we had 50 years. I said the probability models suggested 50 years. Models are not certainties. If the architects detected something, if they decided to test humanity's current development level, they could come at any time. Kale accessed the ministry database. Checked Theta 9's recent reports. Nothing unusual. Standard mining yields, normal communications, no distress signals. When does the threat arrive? The Sentinel's message was unclear. Days. Maybe weeks. We need to warn them. Warning them accomplishes nothing. If architects are coming, human technology cannot stop them. Only Sentinels can engage architects. Only bonded Sentinels. Kale understood. We need to go there. Need to help that Sentinel find a bond before the threat arrives. Correct. Kale contacted Director Ashwin, explained the situation. Ashwin's response was immediate. We'll send a fleet, full military escort. If architects are returning, we need every defensive option available. But Vigil disagreed. Fleets will not help, will only announce our arrival. Give the architects time to prepare. We must go quietly, quickly. Find the worthy bond, activate the Sentinel, then face what comes. Kale made a decision that would define everything that followed. He went alone, one small ship. Civilian registration, no military markings. Just a cadet and his Sentinel racing across the galaxy to wake another protector before humanity's ancient enemy arrived. The journey took 8 days. Hyperspace jumps. Silent running, no communications. Theta 9 appeared peaceful when Kale arrived. Mining stations operational. Ore processing running smoothly. People living normal lives, unaware that danger approached. Kale followed the coordinates the dormant Sentinel had sent. They led deep into the planet's crust. Ancient caverns, pre-Exodus construction. The mining colony had been built directly above a Sentinel chamber. Pure coincidence, or maybe not. Maybe Sentinels influenced human colony placement in subtle ways. The chamber was identical to the one on Bastion Prime. Same architecture, same dark walls that absorbed light, same sphere in the center. But this sphere was different. It pulsed, active, aware, trying to wake but unable to break dormancy without a bond. Kale approached. I'm here, what did you detect? The Sentinel's voice was weaker than Vigil's, strained. Architect scout ship, 6 days out. Scanning colonies, testing defenses. If they find weakness, the invasion begins. If they find strength, they retreat and plan. What do they consider strength? Active Sentinels, bonded, ready. 1 Sentinel might make them pause. 2 would make them cautious. 3 would make them retreat. Kale counted. There are 7 active bonds if we all gather here. They would know, would detect the energy signature, would call reinforcements instead of retreating. No. We need local strength. Need this colony defended by its own Sentinel. Need to show the architects that every human world has protection. So we need to find someone here, someone worthy. Yes, hell, the Sentinel post. That is why I called you. You are bonded. You understand purpose. You can recognize it in others. Find me a bond, Kale Vorn. Find me someone with truth of purpose before the architects arrive. Kale had 6 days. 40,000 colonists, most of them miners, workers, families, normal people living normal lives. Someone among them was worthy. Someone had the truth of purpose that Sentinels required. But who? Vigil offered guidance. Search for the ones others overlook. Sentinels do not bond to the obvious choices. We bond to those with unbreakable will hidden beneath circumstances that mask it. Cale spent 3 days observing, watching, looking for signs. He found her on day 4, a woman named Sira, age 26, worked in ore processing, unremarkable performance reviews, no family on the colony, no close friends, she worked extra shifts. Volunteered for dangerous assignments, never complained. Cale watched her work, she moved with precision, efficiency. But more than that, she moved with purpose, every action deliberate, intentional. Like she was training for something even though there was nothing to train for. He approached her after shift. "Why do you work so hard?" She looked at him, suspicious. "Who's asking?" "Someone who needs to know." "I work hard because work is all I have. Because I'm alone on this colony. Because staying busy keeps me from thinking about everything I left behind." "What did you leave behind?" Sira's eyes hardened. "A life where I was weak. Where I let people hurt me. Where I never fought back. I came here to be different. To become someone strong enough that no one could hurt me again. Truth of purpose, unbreakable will forged in pain." Cale recognized it immediately. "Come with me, I need to show you something." He led her to the sentinel chamber. She followed without question, curious, unafraid. When she saw the sphere, she stopped. "What is that?" "A choice, a chance, the strength you've been searching for." The sentinel pulsed, recognizing her. Sira approached slowly. Cale saw himself in her, the same desperate hope, the same willingness to try anything. She placed her hand on the sphere. Light exploded outward. The bond formed in seconds. The sentinel, desperate to wake, eager to help, merged with Sira faster than Vigil had merged with Cale. Her scream echoed through the chamber. Not pain, transformation. When the light faded, Sira stood different, stronger. Shadows coiled around her arms. Her eyes burned with ancient power. The 8th sentinel had awakened. Its voice filled the chamber. "I am Aegis, created to protect. Dormant too long, bonded now to strength hard-earned. We are ready." 2 days later, the Architect scout ship arrived. It dropped out of hyperspace at Theta 9's edge. Scanning, analyzing, judging, 2 sentinels waited, Cale and Vigil in orbit, Sira and Aegis on the surface. The Architect ship detected them immediately, energy signatures impossible to hide. The ship hovered for 12 hours, scanning, calculating, running probability models, then it jumped away, back into hyperspace. Back to wherever the Architects waited. The message was clear. This colony was protected. This world was defended. Testing humanity here would be too costly. The scout ship retreated. The invasion was postponed. Humanity had bought more time. Cale and Sira stood together on Theta 9's surface. 2 bonded humans, 2 sentinels awakened, Eta 47 now active. "More will wake," Aegis said. "The pattern accelerates. Your public bond started it. Our bond continues it. Others will follow." Vigil agreed. 47 sentinels, 47 colonies. When all wake, humanity will be ready, for the Architects, for anything. Cale looked at Sira. "How do you feel?" She smiled. For the first time since he'd met her, she smiled. "I feel strong." The weakest cadet in Academy history had gained the galaxy's most powerful protector. And in doing so, he'd started a chain reaction that would wake them all. 47 protectors, 47 bonds, 47 humans with unbreakable purpose. The Architects were coming, but humanity would be ready. If this opened your eyes to what's really happening in the galaxy, you need to hear what comes next. Let's break down what we've just uncovered. First, humanity's origin story is a lie. We're not primitive beings who evolved on Earth. We're refugees from a galactic war so devastating it consumed 12 galaxies. Our ancestors accepted exile rather than extinction, but they didn't go quietly. They created the Sentinels. 47 living weapons bonded to 47 human carriers. Insurance against the day the Architects decided to finish what they started. Second, the Sentinels don't choose the strong. They choose purpose. Cale Vorn was the weakest cadet in Academy history. Sira was a trauma survivor hiding on a mining colony. Neither had obvious strength, but both had unbreakable will. The determination to stand when standing meant nothing. And that's what Sentinels recognize. That's what they bond to. Third, the hidden truth changes everything. 7 bonds are awake, but the Ministry only knows about one publicly. 3 bonds hide in the shadows, protecting humanity without recognition. Director Ashwin's pragmatic approach might change that, might create cooperation instead of conflict. But the fundamental problem remains: governments want control, and Sentinels can't be controlled. Fourth, the timeline is accelerating. The Architect's return was projected for 50 years from now. But they're already testing human defenses. The scout ship at Theta 9 proves it. They're watching, calculating, waiting for the moment to strike. And humanity's only real defense is waking all 47 Sentinels before that moment comes. This isn't just a story about one cadet gaining power. It's about humanity's survival depending on individuals others have dismissed. The weak, the traumatized, the overlooked, because those are the ones with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Those are the ones who have already survived the impossible just by existing. And that brings us to the real question. What happens next? 8 Sentinels are awake. 39 remain dormant, scattered across human colonies. Hidden in ancient sites, waiting for bonds worthy of their power. The Ministry will search. They'll excavate every pre-Exodus site. They'll scan every colony. They'll try to wake the Sentinels through force or technology. They'll fail. Because Sentinels can only be awakened by purpose. By individuals who find them honestly, who touch the dormant spheres with truth in their hearts. Force doesn't work. Deception doesn't work. Only genuine need opens the bond. Which means humanity's survival depends on 40,000 ordinary people across 40,000 ordinary colonies, somehow stumbling into ancient chambers and proving themselves worthy. The odds seem impossible. But here's what makes this interesting. Kale's public bond changed the calculation. Now people know Sentinels exist, know they offer power, know they're hidden somewhere on each colony. People will search, not just military. Not just governments. Individuals, the desperate, the ambitious, the curious, most will fail, most aren't worthy, but some will succeed. The bonds will form, the Sentinels will wake, and humanity's defense will grow stronger. But there's a darker side to this. Not everyone wants humanity protected. The Crix Collective sees human expansion as a threat. The Veiled Synod considers humanity upstarts violating sacred territory. Other factions, other species, other civilizations all have reasons to prefer humanity weak. When they learn about the Sentinels, they'll act. Some will try to destroy the dormant ones before they wake. Some will try to steal them. Some will try to bond with them themselves, not understanding that Sentinels only bond to humans. The galaxy is about to become very dangerous. Kale understands this. That's why he didn't stay at the academy. That's why he's traveling. Searching, looking for the other dormant Sentinels, trying to reach them before hostile forces do, trying to help worthy bonds form before it's too late. Sira joined him. 2 bonded humans working together, protecting sites. Guiding potential bonds, building the network that will save humanity. The other 6 active bonds do the same, each protecting their region, each searching for dormant Sentinels, each racing against time and enemies. It's a scavenger hunt across the galaxy, with humanity's survival as the prize. And here's the final twist. The thing that makes all of this terrifyingly real, the architects aren't the only threat. Vigil showed Kale something, ancient records. Pre-Exodus intelligence. The architects had allies in the original war. Other species, other civilizations, all of them survivors of humanity's expansion before the exile. They remember. They still fear humanity. And when they learn the Sentinels are waking, they'll come too. Not in 50 years, not when the architects arrive. Soon. Because the galaxy's worst nightmare isn't the architects returning. It's humanity remembering what they were. What they could be again. A species that adapts faster than any other. That survives anything. That spreads across galaxies like wildfire. The exile was meant to contain that. To limit humanity to one primitive world. To let them forget their potential. But the Sentinels remember. And through the bonds, humans are starting to remember too. Kale has genetic memory. Sira probably does too. The other bonds likely carry fragments of humanity's original civilization in their DNA. When all 47 bonds form, when all 47 Sentinels wake,